Welcome, everyone. I'm Lisa O'Brien, the Women's Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Program Manager for Lift Fund, and I'm pleased to welcome you to our live panel discussion on work-life balance, surviving versus thriving. On this International Women's Day, Lift Fund has partnered with the Veterans Women's Enterprise Center to bring you this event, which we are currently streaming on our Facebook channel from the Genius Den in Dallas, Texas. I'd like to give you a little information on WVET, as we call it. The Women's Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Program is funded through an SBA grant. Lift Fund is a nonprofit small business lender headquartered in San Antonio, Texas, with a footprint in 13 states. We are one of 3 organizations in the U.S. to receive this grant to work with women veteran entrepreneurs and spouses. Our grant is specifically focused on women vet spouse entrepreneurs in Texas. Texas has one of the highest rates of veteran entrepreneurship, and women are the fastest growing demographic. Through this grant, we offer business advising and workshops to women vet and spouse entrepreneurs, partner with organizations across the state, like the Veteran Women Enterprise Center here in Dallas, as well as military installations. We offer 5% interest rates on commercial business loans and several other services to this demographic. The hallmark of our program has been an accelerator in the form of a webinar series that focuses on hard and soft skills like networking, strategic planning, how to develop a marketing plan, and tonight, listening to women veteran small business owners and supporters like these women here who can share some of their successes and struggles with the next generation of business owners. Our accelerator program consists of seven women across the state, all the way from Beaumont across to El Paso. Our broadcasts are based in San Antonio, but today we're here in Dallas. So next, I'd like to introduce our moderator today. Her name is VR Small, and she's the Executive Director of the Veteran Women's Enterprise Center. VR is a U.S. Navy veteran. After returning home to Dallas in 2015, VR immediately put her business skills to use, supporting women via SCORE and WINGS. She continuously focuses her energy on developing innovative programs for women, veterans, and small business owners, turning visions into realities as the founder and director for the Women Veteran Enterprise Center, a national initiative that has broken ground in southern Dallas with the first of many centers projected for Texas and our nation. A leader and advocate for women veterans, VR testified in support of the original House bill to make June 12th Women Veterans Day in Texas and organized the first Women Veterans Day 2017 celebration supported by women vets across the region. This involved veteran support. VR serves on the North Texas MyVA Committee and the 30th Congressional District Veteran Advisory Council. She is a member of the Veteran Coalition of North Central Texas, endorsed North Texas lead candidate, HCC fellow, U.S. Navy vet, and proud daughter and sister to U.S. Army, Vietnam, and Iraq veterans, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our moderator and partner tonight, Ms. VR Small.
Yay!
With that, I will hand over the reins to you.
Good evening, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. We are so grateful that you have joined us tonight as we close out International Women's Day. Women across the world have been fighting for parity, and tonight we have the opportunity to meet with 4 extraordinary women who cut across a number of industries. We have our veteran, our military spouses, and our female patriots. So let's get started. Dr. Butler, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dr. Nakaya Butler. I'm a Navy veteran. I served 5 years active duty in the Navy, and I'm an audiologist. I've been open here. My office is in Dallas. It's been open since 2011. It's a small private practice that helps all ages with hearing loss protection, and diagnosis of hearing loss.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's welcome Dr. Butler. Ms. Hope King, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Hope Woribori King, and I own Black Tie Babysitting Incorporated, and what we do is provide on-site childcare at special occasions, events, and business meetings. We currently support the veteran community by providing childcare at a lot of programming and workshops so that mothers can get what they need and know that they don't have to look for childcare, that it's provided for them there. We've been in business for 7 years now, and we're growing by leaps and bounds and very pleased to be included in this incredible group of women here today.
Please join me in welcoming Ms. King. And now, Ms. Chevron Covington, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon Covington, and I am a new transplant to Dallas. I've been here 2 years. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and in 1994, I opened a construction final cleaning company, hiring homeless veterans, providing transportation and a meal. So I have brought that to Dallas, and I also provide training for them as well.
Thank you so much. Please welcome Ms. Covington. And last but not least, Ms. Christy Campo. Please tell us about yourself.
I am a proud U.S. Navy veteran, FMF Corpsman. I was stationed out of Camp Pendleton, Mag 39, Persian Gulf War veteran. I own my own business in graphic design, website development. Been here in Dallas since 1995. I am a native Texan, and I'm very involved in the veteran community and growing my business.
Awesome. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Campo. So ladies, we're going to get right to our discussion, and the first question is going to be directed to our female veterans. Transitioning from the military to the civilian world, did you find that at all to be difficult? Ms. Butler, Dr. Butler, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I definitely felt that was a hard transition. Those final months when my enlistment was up, making the decision to re-enlist or taking the risk of getting out back into civilian life and trying to start a new path was a very difficult decision. But with the support of my friends and family back home, they encouraged me that you can really do this. And so I was able to enroll in college. I was stationed in Guam at the time, and my cousin here locally helped me get enrolled at UT Arlington and made that transition smoother for me and just helped me make the leap. But the first couple of years was difficult because you are in a routine and used to being around your other fellow military members. And so it was different being around civilians and how they do things. And I was a little bit older than the typical student at that time, but was eventually able to make it through and stay in college.
That's awesome. And Sharon, I know that you are the spouse of a veteran. So can you tell us a little bit about your transition?
Yes, I'm a former spouse of a military veteran, and my 2 oldest daughters are veterans. And I worked for the Department of Defense, so I was pretty much treated like military where I worked. And yes, transitioning from living with the military and going into civilian life, because like the doctor said, they really don't have any routine, and there's nothing set, and you're used to that. And it got really hard, so I had to. It even got to a place where when I was looking for a neighborhood to live, it had to be like the base. So it was kind of hard in the beginning, but eventually I got to a place where as long as I could stay within the veteran realm, so hiring homeless veterans and helping them pick themselves up, because some of them don't want to go back into the field that they were in while they were in the service. So I teach and hire them for environmental services.
That's awesome. Chrissy, can you tell us a little bit about your transition?
Well, my transition was difficult because when I came back from the war. And when I was getting out of the military, there was nothing, there was no support, there was no help, there was no mental issue help per se. So when I came out of the military, I found it to be very difficult. I was going through a lot of issues that come from being in a war, and I didn't have the support. But I was married at that time, and so I think the thing that helped me was that I was financially stable because I was married, and then I became a stay-at-home mom. So for me, the transition was a little bit harder. It took me quite a few years to feel normal.
So transitioning, period, can be difficult. Let's talk a little bit about transitioning from a professional job to starting your own business. And Hope, why don't you share with us your decision to move out of sales, to start your own business, and what that transition was like?
Sure. So when I started my business, I started as a sideline, and I had been in corporate sales and new business development for 14 years. I'd always made a decent salary and achieved a certain amount of success. But I'm a single mother of 4 children, and 3 of my children have special needs. And corporate America no longer gave me the flexibility that I needed. I was doing conference calls over the phone when I need to sit face to face with these people that are discussing my child and their future and what we'll do, because I have a child that's on the spectrum as well. So I made the decision, you know what, this sideline business I have, I remember my first 2 years, I did 1 event each year. And I was like, you either can make this into a business and take this leap, or you can stay where you are. And so it was a hard decision to make. I had to go to my parents' house and tell them, look, I need to move in with you and all 4 of my kids and with you so I don't have to pay this lease I'm leasing for this house. And my mother was like, no. And my mother's like, you can downsize and I'll co-sign for you. And I was like, no, I need to live with you rent free. And my dad was like, your home is your home. And eventually she let us stay there too. But so that was a really big sacrifice for us as a family and for me as an adult, because it's very difficult to cohabitate with your parents and live in a multi-generational household. But it's one that's been very rewarding. But it was just that decision of the risk was worth what I would gain. So.
Oh, thank you so much. And Dr. Butler, could you share with us a little bit about your decision to start your own practice?
Sure. Well, I have had the thought of being a business owner for many years, and I also was in the healthcare industry and trying to find the right way to merge those 2 things. So finally I found my way, and I ended up as an audiologist. Well, my last year of graduate school, I had the privilege of doing one of my externships at a private practice location here in Dallas. And I was like, oh, this is it. I have to do it. So that's when I sat down and developed my plan. Was my last year in school, which was 2009, 2010. I took a corporate job right out of school at a high-paying training positions for one of the large hearing aid manufacturing companies. And I continued to live like a student. So as I got paid, I bought a piece of equipment, put it in storage. I had a 1-year plan. My 1-year anniversary, I was able to find an office that was willing to take me on part-time. I quit my corporate traveling job, and I was able to open my own small office. 3 days a week, I worked at a local office. 2 days a week, I could focus on my business. And it took me about 3 years to transition where I worked less and less at my part-time job, and I was able to go full-time at my own office. And so it was a plan, but a safety net at the same time. But I wanted to do it without any more loans because I have a huge student loan debt as a doctor. So I didn't want to take out any business loans.
So I just want to add to the audience and share that there should have been at least 2 things that you've taken away from our 2 panelists. 1, the decision is a big decision. 2, planning is extremely important because you're going to have to make some sacrifices if you're going to start your own business. It's not going to just be life on easy street. You being the boss, making all the decisions. Making all those decisions are tough decisions. And while we talk about decisions, let's talk a little bit about that first couple of years when you started your business. What were some of the things that you had to do to really manage your time as a business owner? Christy, why don't you start? You got a big smile. I think you have something to share.
Well, I made the decision to be a business owner when I got divorced in 2008. I just didn't know what kind of business owner, what kind of business I was going to go into. And it took me a couple years to figure that out. And one of the decisions that was very, very hard was how am I going to make a living, start a business, and support myself and my children. And so I smiled because I started selling things. When I wasn't making enough money, I started selling our material possession to make ends meet. And that was really hard, very hard.
So we have to make some sacrifices. So
Yeah.
for those of you that are totally sold to your sofa in your car, you may not want to start your business right now because you might have to sell it.
Yeah.
Sharon, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the sacrifices you had to make in those first couple of years when you started your business. And then I want to ask you guys, think about those first couple of years, And tell us, are there some things now that you might have done differently? So you're going to ask 2 questions for me.
Okay.
How those first couple of years started, and then now that you're further along, are there some things you would have done differently?
Okay, so the first couple of years, when God gave me this cleaning company, I had been laid off, and I was waiting to hear for the appeal for my unemployment. So I literally started my business while on unemployment with $250 to start. And I didn't regret, the only thing I regretted was that I didn't save any money beforehand. But at the time I started my business, my daughters, who are now 39, 36, and 27, were 4, 13, and 16 at that time. But they all needed me at that place where they were at that time. So starting a business made me more available to them. And I was able to, with construction final cleaning, I worked during the day. So I was gone while they were gone, and when I got off and got them from school, my day was done. So that helped out a whole lot too. What I learned though, when I moved my business from Georgia to Florida, I was invited to go into a business incubator. And so I just prayed, and I was like, Lord, you can't see your business as just a means of support. And that's what I saw it. It was just a means of support for me and my children. And I said, if I don't see it any differently, I'm not going to make it. And in 3 weeks' time, I started seeing myself doing millions in business. And I went ahead and got my 8A certification. And I went into that incubator, and things went really well until like 2003. And I said, I'm done with this. I'm tired. Because I wore all the hats. You wear all the hats when you start. You wear all the hats. And but at the end of 2003, I got 4 projects in the city and went from very little to just $150,000 by the last quarter of that year. And then I had a gentleman come in to my office one day, and he said, you've crossed the mainstream, which is really good when you're a business owner. That means you've been in business 5 years, and for minorities and women, we don't usually make that. And then he said, and you're grossing $50,000 extra a year. I was like, what? Because most minority businesses only gross $50,000 a year, period. That's it. So I was like, oh, okay, so let me pay more attention.
Okay. Dr. Butler, can you share a little bit with us about what you would do differently now that you know what you know from those first 1 or 2 years when you started your business, those first 2 years, or did you kind of have a good plan?
I had a good plan, but when I look back at it, I think I was afraid and very cautious. I had this plan on paper. I'm going to work 3 days, and when I get X amount of patients and business, then I'm going to back off. I feel like I missed out on a lot of opportunity, and I didn't just go with the flow. So random things came to me, random opportunities came, and I didn't just follow my gut and do it. I'm like, no, my business is too new. Don't take a risk. Don't take a risk. And now I feel like I'm completely the opposite. That when something seems right, do my homework, but go for it and take those chances, because they can be, even though it's not something I thought of or I planned, they can be great opportunities. And so that, if I look back at my, new opening self, that's what I would tell myself is, don't be afraid, listen to these other ideas, and it's okay to take a chance on a couple of other new things.
So 2 really important points. 1, step out. Be a risk taker, because the statistics try to say that women don't take risks, but we know that we do. And we take big risks sometimes, maybe not in the very beginning, but we want to encourage each and every one of you, if you're starting your business or thinking about starting a business, be a risk taker. And also, I want to go back to what Ms. Covington said about jumping out there and getting certified. We have a lot of businesses that don't consider certification, and that's leaving a lot of money on the table. So make sure you look into all of the available certifications and get in the game. The city, the state, and the federal government has money on the table, and we don't want to leave it there. But Hope, I want you to tell me a little bit about things that you may have done differently in those first years, now that you know a little bit more about running your business.
I think what I would have done differently, I heard Oprah say one time that you have to dream big enough that you can't do it by yourself. That you, where I was when I first started, you know, I guess I thought that it was this business that was going to kind of run on the side and it would pay me the child support that I wasn't getting, and that was going to be it. I don't think when I first conceptualized it that this would be a real functioning business that had employees and all these operating costs. And so now, fast forward 7 years, and I've got staff, and, you know, we're hiring a recruiting director and operations director and all these people, and it's like, now I want to expand into another city, and I don't have any of these operations written down. So now it's like all this is here, and I have to now go back and write it all down. But if I had started thinking, you know what, one day this is going to have to be replicable. One day this is going to be bigger than me here in Dallas. I need to start writing this stuff down right now so that I can train someone, and this is how we're going to do it. Even if it's not outside of Dallas, Fort Worth is right here too, and I could have I could have an office in Fort Worth, but because I was just had that tunnel vision, like, oh, this is just gonna get me, you know, this money so I can do this with my kids. It didn't dawn on me like this is going to be your future. This is how you will not just take care of your children, you will help them pay for their college. I want to be able to help my kids pay for their first houses, you know, with what I'm doing, and to provide an opportunity, because eventually we want to franchise Black Tie so that we can give women an opportunity to do something outside of, and nothing against like Mary Kay and Avon, but something outside of that realm, that they can use their skills as a business owner to run a service-based business. So
opportunities are great. And I want to just remind you, dream big. Keep that at the forefront of your mind as you listen to our panelists, that you're going to keep dreaming big. So if you have your business now, you're thinking about starting your business, don't think small. Don't think I can only do this from home, or I can only do it online. Think about being international, exporting. Think about taking your business beyond the city that you're in, franchising. Absolutely great idea. And now we want to hear a little bit from Chrissy about what you would have done differently now that you've had your business for a while. What did you do in those first 2 years that you would do differently now?
Well, being a single mom after being married for 19 years and coming out, I think the first 2 years I was just operating from fear. Fear of being homeless, fear of not putting enough money on the table, fear of being a failure. So I had a lot of fear for the first few years. So I think that if I could go back, I would tell myself to not be so afraid and be more bold. Listen to my gut instinct, because my gut instinct said one thing, then my head said another thing. And in the very beginning, the first few years, I listened to my head a lot more than I did to my gut. And when I made that transition to following what my gut was telling me, I was able to develop into a bigger business, because the head plays games with you. It's always constantly telling you you're not good enough, that's not going to work, you know, don't do that. What if you lose that account? What if you can't make the rent? But your gut says this is really a really good opportunity, so explore it, do your homework, and then go for it. So that's what I would do different. I think I would live in less fear.
That's awesome. We're getting some really good information here. The next thing we want to talk about is this whole session is about work-life balance. It's about thriving versus simply surviving. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about how you're balancing work and life. So why don't we start with Ms. Covington? Tell us a little bit about how you're balancing work and life. I heard you say that you are an ex-military spouse. Mm-hmm. So what's happening in your life now?
Well, I am an empty nester. That's why I moved to Texas. And I have 5 grandchildren, well, 5.5 grandchildren. So I'll go back when my kids were small. My 36-year-old came home at 13, and an incident happened at school, much like what's going on today, but this was 1995. And it dawned on me, you know, one day somebody might not come home from school. So I made it my business to separate work from family, and I started doing things with them. We went and saw a lot of states. We were driving all the time. Took them a lot of places, spent more time with them, and had an open door for them. So if I'm in my room and I'm working on a proposal, but I get a knock saying, I need to talk to you, Mom, I put everything down, gave them my undivided attention. And so I think with that, balancing it like that, it allowed them to grow into the women that they are. My oldest is my Iraqi veteran from the Army, and my second daughter is Air Force. She was in Japan, and my baby girl is working on her BS. So they're doing well. They're raising their own families, and so now I still do Release Negative Energy Fridays. I don't do any drama on Fridays, calls, face-to-face, none of that. And then Saturday, I call it my fun day. So I do my housework during the week, computer proposal, all of that I'm doing during the week, and Saturday is my fun day. So I may hang out, or I may just stay home. But that's how I do it.
That is awesome. I want to remind you all that this is Facebook Live, but this is being recorded. So you might want to go back and listen to some of these tips again, because setting aside special days for yourself, extremely important. But also recognizing the importance of your family, the time you have with your children, because time can't be replaced, and making sure that they know that they are just as important as your business. That's awesome.
And
so
I just
Hope,
started dating.
and you just started, oh, wait a minute, get that in here. She just started dating. Woo! All right now. That's a good thing, making time for yourself. So Hope, why don't you share with us a little bit about how you're balancing work and life?
So like I mentioned before, I do have 4 children, and I am a single mom. So balance is very important, because my children's fathers do not play a large role in their lives emotionally or financially or anything. So it's me and them. And when you have a business that runs on the weekends, it can be very challenging to find time. So what I've really done is, on Fridays is our date night, and it's standing. So I take my kids on a date, and we go out to eat, and then we have an activity. And they know that's our time with mommy, and that's what we're going to do. The other thing I did was I involved my kids in my business. And I know I own a babysitting company, so that was easier for me than some other folks. But my oldest child turned 17 in 2 weeks. And so with him at his level, he's taking entrepreneurship classes at school. So I give him documents and things to review, and he'd be like, "That's pretty good, Mom." I was like, "I know, your mom is smart, you know." But with the little ones, I mean, everyone has stuff they do. My daughter, she goes with me quite a bit to networking events, so she can see how it works, or she'll even go with me to some jobs. And I mean, she knows what my expectations are. She'll check my staff, like, "Does my mom know you have your cell phone out?" You know, that type of thing. And then my little ones, they play with toys. They're my toy testers, and stuff that they break does not make it to the events. And I have some toys that aren't good for the events that make it back to my house. So I just involve them, and your children, when they see that you're fighting for them, to take care of them, and to do this business and be this Wonder Woman, they're proud of you. And they will they're the walking billboards for my business. I'll go into the school, and the school nurse will be like, "Hope, I didn't know you owned a business. That's great." And she'll be talking to me about, I'm like, "How did you find out on this business?" "Oh, Zachary told me." You know, that's my 3rd grader. So, I mean, they tell everybody, my mom owns a business, and she watches kids. You know, it's a little bit more than that, but but I'm glad that they're able to say, "My mom owns a business," and people know that's how they're being taken care of. So yeah.
That's awesome. Dr. Butler, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're balancing work and
Well,
life?
I am a single lady. I don't have any children, and I have not been married. And so being an entrepreneur and an employee can seem ideal for some people. So work-life balance is definitely difficult for me, because when people find out, "Oh, you don't have children, you're not married," they immediately assume that I don't need to leave at 5 o'clock because I'm not rushing to get the children. They assume that, of course, you can come see me on a Sunday or on a Saturday. And at first, I was so eager to please all my clients and to please other people I was working with that I would say yes. I would say yes to anything. I mean, somebody would send me one of those messages through my website, the phone would ding, and I'm a person that generally goes to bed early, but it was 11 o'clock, and I'd jump up and I'd reply right away. So I go through cycles, I say. Sometimes, once I get really tired and fed up, I say, okay, I'm turning off the phone at 10 o'clock. Stop, done. But other times, I'll just get wrapped back up in it, where I'm doing things on Saturdays and traveling to people's homes. And I do know that I have to place the line in the sand, or other people will continue to ask me or abuse it. But people have definitely said that, oh, well, you don't have to rush home to the kids or anything, so you can wait for me till 5:30. No, I cannot. Yes.
That's important, because a lot of times we think about work-life balance, and if you're single, we can get off balance because we can't spend all of our time doing our business. Yes. So it's really important to recognize that you still need you time, even if it's just you. Chrissy, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're balancing work and life?
Well, one of the things that my kids wanted was my accessibility, to be accessible to them, because I had been a stay-at-home mom for 19 years. And so they were used to me being at home and cooking and cleaning and doing a lot of activities with them. So because I was able to have my own business, I work from home. So my office is at home. But the thing is that I have certain times that I spend with my kids. So with my 14-year-old, it's a morning time from 6:30 to 7:30. We have breakfast together and we talk about whatever she wants to talk about. And then I drop her off at school. With my 22-year-old, it's usually around 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 in the afternoon. She comes in the door and I have to stop because she's going to sit and she's going to talk to me. The other thing that I've done is that I've set a lot of alarms on my phone for me. So I have an alarm to take a 15-minute break, and it'll say take a break for 15 minutes. I have another alarm that'll say get up and go outside. So it reminds me to get up and go outside. So I have about 7 or 8 different kinds of alarm on my phone, so that I can take a break, so that I can do some of the things. Because in graphic design and website development, I could sit at the computer for 16 hours and forget that I've been sitting there for a long time. And so I've had to develop techniques to get those breaks. And then the other thing is that at 6 o'clock, I actually turn my cell phone off. And I don't pick it up anymore. I do have a late night, and that's Thursday. So Thursday is my late day to work, where I will answer phone calls, I will answer emails, except for today because we're here. And so I have a late night.
It's kind of work.
Yeah, it's kind of work. And the other thing is that on Sundays, I don't do any work at all. Nothing. I play with my art. I create paintings. I draw, sketch, or play the piano.
That's awesome. So again, some really good points on how to schedule your day, schedule a specific time to spend with your children, schedule a specific time for yourself. Oh, using your technology, that's excellent. Having alarms that go off and tell you things that you need to do that you probably won't stop and do on your own is extremely important. But we alluded to it, but I want to get a little deeper. How do you say no when you're completely maxed out and people are still asking you for more? How do you say no to that great client that you don't want to lose, but they're asking for a lot more of you than you have to give? Why don't we start with Hope? How do you say no?
Well, this very thing just happened in January to me for my largest client that I had up to that point. And by the way, I let them go because it was just always this back and forth. And you cannot be scared to let your largest client go, because I'm really of the belief that God will bless you with another one.
That's right.
And he did. And so what I've found is that you can set boundaries and you can assert yourself. You don't let your clients tell you how they want to do business with you. You help them understand how you do business with them. And the other thing I think too, as women, you're always used to, we're caregivers by nature. And so when someone asks you to do something, you automatically say yes, because you want to help and you feel obligated because they asked you to do it. And what I realized is now, no needs to be the first thing you say. If someone asks you to do something that you're not obligated to by a contract or someone's paid you to do, say no first. And there's a nice way to say it. Say, you know what, I don't have my calendar in front of me right now, so I can't commit to that, okay, but let me check. Let me check, and I'll get back to you and let you know if that's something I'll be able to do. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I was over promising and doing all this. I know when you're a startup and you're an entrepreneur, you want to do everything you can to get out there so people know you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but you can't run out of the time, because eventually you break down and then you're not doing anything and you're not getting anything accomplished, and you just hit this wall where you're just like, I mean, literally I have sat down and cried because I had to go to networking. I don't want to go today. You know, I just want to come home and sit down and be at home. And even when I go to my boyfriend's house, he's like, you don't want to do anything? I was like, you don't understand how wonderful it is. It's quiet here. You don't have children. You don't have a pet. You have nothing but me. And I just want to sit here in the quiet, because it's always all this noise of everything that you have to do and everything you want to do and then everything you want to do for your kids. And you won't accomplish any of those things or even come close if you're always telling everybody yes.
That's awesome.
So,
Sharon, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you get to know?
It took me a while. It took me a long time. My children used to say, you think you can save the world? But I had to get to a place where I could say no and not feel guilty. Mm-hmm. And God had to show me, sometimes you have to lose to gain. Mm-hmm. So in learning all of that, I can now say, no, I'm not available, and not feel bad about it, and no, we're not going to talk about it, and no, I'm not going to give you another date, another time to come and talk to me about it. And I even have had to, I've even said to contractors, you know what, give me 3 days. I need to fast and pray about that. And I don't answer calls those 3 days. I'm fasting and praying, because I really need to feel good about what I'm doing or what they've asked me to do. And if I don't, then it's not the project for me, or it's not the job for me at the time.
That's good. Chrissy, can you tell us a little bit about how you get to know?
I think, what I do is I'm very careful as to what clients I bring on for me to work with. Our first meeting is usually what I call we're dating. You know, we're going to see if we're going to date. So you get to know them, you get to find out about their kids, their family life. I ask a lot of questions of all my clients, because I want to see if it's a type of person that I can work with. Because what I do is fun. I like to have fun. If I'm not having fun, I don't want to do it. And so the clients that I do have, I also set expectations at the beginning. I'm very clear. Your website is going to take 3 months. And no, I don't work on your website every single day for 10 hours a day. I have a schedule. It's a rotating schedule. You'll know when I work on your website, because you're going to get questions, or you're going to get a review, or you're going to, whatever that is. And so I'm very clear about expectations. Like all the ladies here, I've had to say no to clients, and I've had to let go of clients. And it's that fear. So you can't be afraid to let go of clients because you need the money. Because when you're holding on to that fear, then you're holding on to a bad client that's not good for you and it's not good for them. So I'm just very clear, and when it doesn't work, I just say, our relationship's not going to work anymore. Here's a couple recommendations. I wish you the best, and I cut them loose. And I'm happy to say that I've only lost 2 clients in my whole 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's been good.
So that's really good. So I hope that you took some of these concepts away. One is learning how to say no and getting to know your clients. Also knowing that one client is not the end all. So if you have a client that's taking up too much of your time and you really can't allocate it to the rest of your clients or do a good job, you need to reassess that relationship. And then I heard a lot of spirituality here. So if you are a spiritual person, you want to take that and bring that into your business and make sure you make that a part of your decision-making process, if that's a part of who you are and how you run your business. So we talked a little bit about personal strategies. Let's talk a little bit about tools. Are there any tools that you use to help you balance work and life? Any tools, any technology, applications, different things that you put into play that help you balance work and life? Ms. Covington?
My youngest daughter told me about this app called Color Notes. So I downloaded it, and it's actually a calendar for the month. So I put everything in there, and then you can color code it. So the most important is red. If it's not that important, it's at the bottom. It might be orange or it might be yellow, but you can color code it. So I put everything there from meetings, and if I have a 7:30 meeting, when I wake up, that's on my phone.
That's awesome.
So that's helped me a whole lot.
The alarm on your cell phone, you can customize it. And so you can go in there and customize the days, the time it's going to repeat, and then you can tell yourself what it is for. And so that has been a tremendous tool for me to implement.
That's awesome. Ho, Dr. Butler, do you have any tools you use?
What I do is mine are kind of geared towards children because my kids are still relatively young. They're 9, 11, 15, and soon to be 17. And so there's little things that I do, like I take a picture of all my kids' field trip forms. So I have that form in my phone, and if I hear them talking like, oh, I get this field trip, then I have all that information right there, like where they were going, and, you know, because I'm almost 40 years old, I have all this going, I'm not going to remember. But then I'm going to look and say, oh, yeah, you're going here today. And when they come back, I remembered because I took that picture and I put it in my phone. The other thing I do is that I keep everything on a Google Calendar. I have a paper calendar, and I also have it on my phone because life will put you where your phone is dead. So I don't want it just on my phone. I have it in that hard calendar because I might have left my phone at home or it's dead, but I have it in the hard calendar. I have a backup to my backup to my backup because it's very important that I make it to the meetings, and especially because I have special needs kids, I have quite a few meetings at school in regards to their care too. And I have to be, you know, when I come in, I have my little organized binder, and they already know it's coming, so you better be prepared because I am. So those are kind of the things I do. One thing I will also say for young parents, parents with young kids, is that I keep the payment envelopes that I get in the mail because they have those pre-lines, and I write my kids' names. When they have to have money for school, I write my kids' names on there, write their field, what it's for, write their teacher's name, and that way I put it in their folder instead of randomly giving them cash that may not make it past the cafeteria or what have you. It's sealed, and if they dropped it somewhere, then someone can know. And those are those little things, because if you're in a meeting 45 minutes across town and your child is crying to you, I lost my field trip money, it is the worst feeling in the world when you can't get to them. So I've tried to put things so that I can be preventative of that, so I don't have to do that. Yes.
And you're recycling. I like that.
Yes.
She's recycling. So we all need to look at strategies to be more sustainable. I know I hate to print out things. I know people like to get things in their hands, flyers and postcards, but with email and Facebook and Instagram, I think we can post it enough places where you can find it so we can save a couple of trees. Dr. Butler, do you want to share any of your tools?
I like to, I'm easily distracted, and I like to get things done. So if a problem pops up, I want to address it and get it done. So recently I found out about turning off my alerts throughout the day. So usually right at 11:30, right before lunch, that's when all my emails will come through, and any unknown text messages will all come in if the person's not saved in my phone. So if it's not an immediate family or friend, you're not going to be able to contact me except right before lunch, because I can reply during the lunch hour, and then at the end of the day after 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I'm not disturbed throughout the day when I get that notification my attention changes to try to address that immediate thing.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about work-life balance, but let's talk about some of the specifics. How are you integrating health into your work-life balance?
Integrating
Health, physical fitness, nutrition, eating.
Well, that's where the alarms come in handy. The alarms remind me to eat. I work out first thing in the morning because otherwise it's not going to happen. So I drop my child off at school and then I go straight to the gym. And I do pay a personal trainer because I don't want to show up at the gym and sit there and go, what am I going to work out today? I just want somebody to tell me what to do. It's a 30-minute workout, and then I walk out and I'm done. I don't have to think about it again till 4 when my alarm goes off and tells me to go walk.
So we know we need that balance.
Yeah.
How are we balancing nutrition, fitness?
I think the main thing I do, like I think most entrepreneuring women, the first thing you do is wake up with purpose. I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And because I have such young kids, I mean, we have a bath schedule. We are scheduled folks because I'm playing zone defense. It's not man to man. There's 4 of them and 1 of me. and so we're doing that. Sometimes I wake up and it would be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't even drank water. Yeah. Much less eating anything, and you're like, and I'm anemic, so that wasn't working. So one thing I do first thing in the morning when I get up is I drink water, and that just starts my day. And water also wakes the brain. I tell my kids this every morning: have you drank your water so your brain can wake up? But so doing that, and then just trying to go outside, and if I go to a building and maybe I have a meeting on the 9th floor, maybe I'll take the stairs to the 4th floor and get on the elevator to the rest of the way up, because I can't do the 9, but we can, do the 4 or something like that. Just try to have outside time, and also late night eating and snacking. Try to cut that out, because when you start getting on your computer and because my day, I have to shut off at probably about 6. From 6 to 9:30, 10, I shut off, because that's my time with my kids, for us to do homework and to talk about their day and to take showers and get ready and that type of thing, because we do have some folks that take showers in the morning, some in the afternoon, so there's hot water for everybody in the evenings. But that's my time. But everybody knows at 9 or 10, when everybody's asleep, that's when I pop my computer back up. And then you start getting casual and comfortable, and then you start thinking, I'm hungry. And I just tell myself, you're not hungry. You don't need to eat anything else. I always tell my kids, the kitchen is closed. You can't go in there anymore, and it's closed for me too. So I think, it's not the best, and I'm trying to do yoga. We're going to see how it goes, but yeah.
All right, Dr. Butler, what are your strategies? Fitness and nutrition.
Fitness and nutrition is getting out of the office at lunchtime and actually walking. So I can find myself seeing the last patient, going to emails. The next thing I know, it's time to open up again and start the afternoon. And I would frequently skip lunch and be sitting at my computer the whole 8 to 9 hours a day. And so to take that time and say, okay, today I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually get out, get up, change shirts, walk around the parking lot a few times, and then come back up. When it comes to my hard exercise, I really like to do it first thing in the morning. I do not like physical activity, but the Navy did help ingrain it into my life. I still don't like it. So I do it first thing in the morning, so I don't have any other excuses not to do it. So typically I like to run first thing in the morning. I have my little running shoes and my little workout outfit right there by the foot of the bed. So I get up when my alarm goes off, brush my teeth, hit the door, then I start my day, because if I don't, I will find every excuse in the book that why it can't be done. It won't get done. So that's how I try to balance that.
So what I'm hearing is you need a schedule. Yeah. So for those of you that are listening and in the audience here, you need a schedule. And the ladies are telling me first thing in the morning is a good thing, because you get it in and you get it out of the way. Right. So you don't come up with a lot of excuses why it's been too long today. I'm too tired. I have to go to this networking event, and the next thing you know, it's 9, and then it's 10, and then it's bedtime, and it's never done. So plan. Fitness and nutrition doesn't just happen. We've got to plan it. And Sharonda, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so I would gladly say all that they said, but I'm not. Okay, so as far as exercising go, I do a lot of walking. I park my car at the train station and I catch the train and I walk everywhere I got to go downtown. I'll even walk from the train to City Hall. So I get that walking in. As far as health goes, being over 50, your metabolism kind of like goes comatose. So I got to where I started watching my sugar intake, and I got myself down to 35 grams of sugar a day. And I season my food with freshly ground seasonings and cook everything from scratch. So I don't do processed food. And that helps a whole lot because at 50 I had a hysterectomy. So that made a difference in balancing, eating the foods that give me that estrogen that you're no longer getting and that kind of stuff. So I eat healthy, but I'm not going to say I exercise all the time. But I am getting ready to get into water aerobics.
That's awesome. And this is a good lead in to the Veteran Women's Enterprise Center, which we noted is under renovation. But one of our key programs is our Mondays in Motion, which is a part of our enrichment activities. And Mondays in Motion takes a Monday and looks at a different topic each Monday, from motivation to meditation, moving, and meal deal, which is our nutrition program, because we understand this is kind of difficult to work into your day. You want to run your business. You want your business to be successful. You don't want to take time out for a lot of the things that are critically important, things like you. And so when you work at the center, you'll have the opportunity, and we'll keep those things at the forefront for you, doing Mondays in Motion. So now we talked about nutrition. We've talked about fitness. We talked about our children. Let's talk about companionship. Because sometimes we think that when we're running a business and doing all these other things that we're just too busy for relationships. But I think relationships can be important. So ladies, let's talk about how relationships work into your life. And Sharon, I'm going to start with you because you told us you were dating. You told us you were dating, so we're going to start with you.
Okay, so like you said, relationships are important, but you have to be careful who you let in. And for 6.5 years, I just was not letting anybody in want you're an entrepreneur as a woman. Sometimes men attach themselves to you because now all of a sudden they have this idea and they want you to help them with their goal and their idea. I just got tired of men seeing me as dollars and cents for them, so I just stayed out of the game. But what's so awesome about this gentleman is he's an entrepreneur, but he's not in my business because I'm in construction, so it's a man's world, and
but we're changing that.
Yeah, we're changing that.
Construction is also a woman's world. We make that note.
Yes. But he doesn't see me as dollars and cents. He sees me as a lady. And that makes a difference because he gives me attention that way. Instead of, oh, well, what we going to, I got this idea and let's do a hot dog stand over here. No, stop.
So those relationships have to be mutual. Dr. Butler, I didn't hear you talk about any relationships. Is there anything going on?
No, not at this time, and that is okay with me. I agree that when you put yourself out there as a single woman, some people can target you and have their own goals and plans for you that were not in line with my plan. I have had that happen, and so I have definitely set my life where I just want to make sure I'm happy, I'm doing something I love, I am taking care of myself, and if God sees it in my plan that I should have a partner, that's great. But if not, I am enjoying my life. I'm going to do things I want to do, enjoy my family that is still living, and that's going to be my life. So I'm just not putting a companion as a priority. I'm not.
I like that. I hope you heard both sides of the coin. Yeah. One side of the coin is that, hey, a relationship is something that's important to me, but it has to be the right relationship. Mm-hmm. And the other side of the coin is I'm happy with me. Mm-hmm. And if someone comes along, great. but if they don't, that's also great. And I think our audience here and our audience online needs to come to the decision that what makes you happy, and it may not be what makes everyone else happy. Let's talk a little bit about Miss Hope. We heard how your boyfriend's life is a little quiet. It gives you that escape. So tell us a little bit about that.
So obviously I don't have the best luck with men. I do have baby daddies. I have 2 of them, and but one thing that I've realized is that you still have your standards, but being an entrepreneur adds an extra level of that standard. And so what I've found, to the successful people I've successfully dated have been entrepreneurs or in business themselves, because they could understand where I was coming from. No, we can't go out because I need to go to this networking meeting. Or, you know, I'm not going to be able to see you this weekend because I've got kids, events, and this is what's going to happen. I think that I did date people who I fell into that trap, where they knew I had my own business, I was successful, and they're like, oh, well, I need you to help me do this, and I need you to help me do, well, hold on. That's a consulting fee. That's not
Very
good.
That's
that's not a dating situation. This plate is not going to pay for that. You know, that type of thing. So, but I have a wonderful man, and he's very understanding, and he's actually ex-military. He's a veteran. He's a former Marine. So he's very disciplined, and you have to find someone that adds to you and doesn't subtract or take away. And he adds to me because I'm a procrastinator. Even though I have all these things I have to do, I'm still a procrastinator with things I don't want to do. And he's always like, babe, have you done this yet? Have you done that? And he's also a chef. So he took cooking away from me. So all my meals are cooked and prepared and presented to me, which is awesome every day. But I think that you just, I like
out there is asking her, does he have a brother? I know that question is out there, but we won't be able to answer it today.
But yeah, so I think you have to find someone that's going to understand your life as you, if you have kids, or as an entrepreneur, because it influences so much of your time and your thought process and everything else. Like, I've never gone on a vacation. Ever. Ever. My kids have gone on vacation with other family members because I stayed back. And he has come into my life and is like, we are going to go on a vacation. And and he'll be like, Hope, you make plenty of money, buy a new car. You deserve that. People need to be able to look at you and see your success, And so when you have someone encouraging you like that is awesome, because it helps you business-wise too. There's a level of confidence I have now because I can go home and talk about my business challenges or my business successes, and there's somebody there who can listen and can be like a sounding board for me. So
this is so interesting because I spent time in the corporate world, and I used to listen to my male colleagues talk about how they couldn't find a woman that understood they had to work late, or they had to travel here, and they had to do these things. And I think it wasn't a male thing. It's just a business thing.
Yeah.
When you're in business and you're trying to get where you want to go, there are just some sacrifices that you have to make. And what they need to do and what we need to do is find that person that understands those sacrifices and supports you in being the person that you want to be and having the business that you want to have. And that's going to make some challenges and some sacrifices and compromises on all our behalf. So, Chrissy, I've not forgotten about you. Tell us what's going on in your life.
Well, I think in the beginning, when I tried to date, I fell into the same trap where the men that I did date wanted to tell me how to run my business, how to do it, how much to charge, clients, which clients to work with, etc. And so that didn't work. Then I fell into the second trap. Oh, well, you work from home. Can you pick up my kids, on the way to pick up your kids? Or, I'm in a meeting, you're at home. Can you run and drop the lunchbox because my kid forgot it, And so I had to go, wait a minute. We're not married. They're not my kids. I'm not responsible for your responsibilities. So I had to. You go through this learning period, how to date as an adult, It's like nobody tells you how do you date as an adult, And so then I recently just stopped a relationship just because it wasn't working out. He was retired, wasn't doing anything, and so he was coming over to my house and just sitting around waiting for me. And so I was like, okay, that's not going to work either. And so I think that what I've learned is that if anybody else comes into my life, I'm going to treat it more as a business, and I have to set expectations. You know, this is what I want from you, because I have a business to run. So if I don't work, we don't make money. You know, and I'm not anybody's responsibility. I'm my own responsibility. I don't expect anybody to give me money. I don't expect anybody to tell me what to do with my life. And so I think I need to set those expectations at the beginning of the relationship and then see how it goes. So that's what I've decided I'm going to do from now on.
I know the audience online and on site see themselves in each and every one of these women. Yes. They're thinking, I had that experience too. Yeah. So they know what you're talking about. But relationships, family, kids, all of that's important. Let's talk a little bit more about business, though. So, as a business owner, or particularly as a new business owner, you spend a lot of time working in the business than on the business. So, what helped you make the transition from just working in the business, because we wear a lot of hats, to starting to really work on the business? Hope?
For me, because I came from corporate America and I had done new business development and had done sales, that was my job, to grow other people's businesses. One day it dawned on me I didn't even have a sales plan for myself. I had done sales plans and quotas for years, and I didn't have one for myself, for my business. So I sat down and said, okay, this is how many venues we want to meet with a month. This is how many planners we want to sign up for our preferred planner program a month. I started setting quotas for myself within my business, and that made a huge difference because, like you said, I stopped working in the business and on the business. And it goes back to that whole mentality that you have to get beyond the fact that it's you, that eventually it will be other people. So you have to start work. It was important for me because, I mean, usually for small businesses and startups, you're the face of that company. So you have to be able to step away from that everyday operational stuff to continue to be the face of it, but still not let that dwindle. So that's when we started talking about, you know, with my sounding boards, Hope, you need to go ahead and hire a recruitment manager that hires your babysitters, that staffs jobs. That's not something you need to be doing anymore. You need to hire that person. And then as far as operations, making sure that payments are made and, you know, making sure all the contracts have been received, making sure that people's CPR is up to date, and you know, all those things. Those are also things that I don't need to be doing. I was doing all those things, and when you're doing all those things, it was also limiting how much staff I could hire because I have to sleep eventually. You know, so it was just like, Hope, you know, if you hire someone, then they can constantly be hiring and growing your team. And the more they grow the team, the more jobs you can take. Because we have the capacity right now to take on, you know, 3 events on a given day. And our events went from an average of 25 to 40 kids. So lately we've been doing 160, 170, 150. And those are very different level events when you start getting into that. And so that's when it was like, you have to have an operations manager because you can't stay up all night for 2 weeks because you have this huge event. So.
And I want to do a shout out for her because, again, that's black tie babysitting. Black tie babysitting is moving up on the spectrum. So, Chrissy, let's talk a little bit about how you've moved from working the business to working on the business.
Well, again, I was in the same place that you were. I didn't have a sales projection for me, and it was until I sat down and started thinking about my business on a grander scale than just, I got to do this, I got to be the CPA, the sales, the graphic designer, the web developer, the accountant. I got to do all these things. It was when I started becoming affiliated with other organizations and allowing them to refer clients to me and do some of that legwork versus me doing everything. And it's allowed to grow my business. And now I see we're doing bigger because they brought me in their business is growing, and because I brought them in, my business is growing. So partnerships.
Those are awesome.
Partnerships.
Having that partnership advantage. Right. Dr. Butler, I know you had a great plan in place, but how did you kind of transition from, working in the business to beginning to really work on your business?
At the very beginning, the part of my plan was networking. So I saw at that one externship I was telling you about, this one business owner, she did a lot of local networking. And so that was in my plan. Any day that I was off, I would take the time to go to a local meetup group. So it would be net weavers, any veterans related groups. I had time to do that then because I didn't have a lot of patients and customers coming through the door. So it was good that I did those things at the very beginning because I planted those seeds and it helped the phone ring year or two later. Well, once I started getting busy and I was in the clinic all day, I stopped. I didn't go to anything outside of my office. I was just going to work. And I saw a ripple effect from that. And so I definitely agree that planning ahead and taking a step back and saying, what am I doing today? Yes, to get the job done, but what am I doing today that's going to help my business in the future or grow my business? So one thing that I do at the end of the year, I get with a business coach. The last quarter of the year, we review the year, but more importantly, we make the plan for the following year. Solid goals that I actually say I want to do, but we have a plan on what I want to achieve for the next year. So they can be kind of costly, so I don't employ them all year round, but the last quarter of the year, I use them to help me set my goals for the following year. So that's one thing I do to take a step out of my business and, prepare.
Well, this is a great time to interject with SCORE. Most of you know that SCORE is SBA funded, and SCORE provides mentors across the nation, and they are free. A lot of people think that SCORE is for startup businesses, but SCORE is for the life of your business. So they help you start, they help you grow, and if you decide you want to exit your business, they can help you with that strategy too. So I would encourage each of you, if you're looking for a coach and a coach is going to be expensive, look into SCORE. Find you a mentor who can do that same thing. And the other suggestion that I'm going to give you is that your business plan is not just for the start of your business. Your business plan should be a living document, and you should be going back to it and looking to see, am I reaching those goals? Is that still my client base? Is this still my market share? What's my niche? Has it changed? Do I know my customers? How am I pricing my products? Am I still competitive? Your business plan should be a living document. And I know we think of it as, okay, I'm starting my business, let's do a business plan. But you should keep that business plan, keep going back to it, keep working it and building it and developing it. Because each time when you get ready to expand or do your franchise, they're going to want to know where your business plan is. What does it look like? If you decide you want to open up another practice or begin to expand your services, what's the plan? So each and every time you start that plan, you do a really good plan, and then you build on it. And you build on it. And so, did I get everybody's piece? Sharon, did you tell me what you were doing? So she just looked at me like, well, if you didn't know, come on and give me your piece, Sharon.
Well, I'm going to go back to where I said I asked God to show me how to see my business differently than just a means of support to feed my family. And so when he taught me to see global, that's how I started seeing it. I started seeing my business big. And I did realize, okay, someone needs some help. And I did have 2 people that I actually could delegate things to actually do some things. But I took vacation. I was like, no. I was able to go on vacation for a week, and the business was still standing and still running. I was like, wow. And then there would be things like, sometimes you have to take yourself out of the element. So I would go to the beach and work a proposal, and I would have other entrepreneurs call, where are you? What are you doing? I'm at the beach working a proposal. Oh, you got it like that. You have it like that too. Mm-hmm. You just have to make it your business. So before I moved to Texas, though, I heard this CD talking about leadership. And so I asked God to send me 6 leaders that I could rely on and delegate things to once I got started here. and he has sent me those people. So I have trainers lined up. I have a gentleman who graduated from my entrepreneurship program in Florida who is going to move here and run the cleaning company while I push my academy because I want to franchise my first one next year. So those are things that I look at. So I've got people in place so that I can concentrate on, like she said, like Hope said, being the face of the business, because you are your business. Mm-hmm. How you dress, how you look, how you carry yourself is how people portray you. So when they look at you, then they automatically kind of get an idea, okay, this is how they run things, or this is how they're going to do things. So you are your business. But I also tell my employees, when you have my work shirt on, you are marketing for me. So I need you to be on your best or don't wear it. It's as simple as that. So
those are some good points, some very good points. And I think what each and every lady was sharing with us is that we have to learn how to delegate. I know your business is your baby, so you want to hold on to it. You're very, very touchy about who you let hold your baby, who you let get close to your baby. But you got to let that baby go at some point. And you got to start delegating so that you can continue to grow and be that ambassador for your business. Let's talk a little bit about how do you ensure that the time spent on strategizing, long-term growth, and learning new things that you need to do, how do you make time for that and make sure that those issues, I heard you guys talk about your sales strategy, you have a coach. How do you ensure that those items get covered?
I usually take a time out. I take myself out of the element. I usually like to leave town. I leave the city, and I just clear my mind so that I can really hear. I like sitting outside, because that clears my head, and I can really hear the next thing to do, or a new strategy, or a new plan, or something else to implement. So that's how I usually do it. I usually get out of the element. Or, like I said, on weekends, it's my fun day on Saturday. I leave the house. I might catch the train. I've been on the TRE, which is amazing. So I'm still new to Texas. Bear with me. But I'll get on that, and I'll just ride it out to out to Fort Worth. And while I'm on it, as I'm looking out the window, I just start writing. And so I write everything down.
So some of the ladies have mentioned that they have employees or they have individuals working with them. I want to ask you, and I want to ask our audience if you'd like to share, what do you do to encourage your employees to have work-life balance? You have it, but are you ensuring that the people that work with and for you have work-life balance?
Well, I do. And one thing I want to add to what she was saying is sometimes you can't get away. But you can still incorporate that into your day. Like some things I do is I do a webinar every week. I do one webinar every week, and I get on Scores webinars. I get on Bright Talk has some really great webinars, but I do it once a week, and I usually do it during my lunch break. So I'm eating my lunch, watching the webinar, or I listen to audiobooks on my commute in. I have a 45-minute commute, so I listen to audiobooks on that commute. I just try to make the best of my time to incorporate it into what I'm already doing, because I already have so much other stuff that I'm trying to do. But as far as family work-life balance for my employees, it's very important. I see my employees, like I have been an employee and had really bad bosses, and I never want to be those bad bosses. So, my employees, they have their uniform shirts, but I spend the money to have their names embroidered on the sleeve. So they take ownership. Like, that's your name. Next to my business name, that's your name. And, we talk about one thing I read, which I think every woman who's going to own a business needs to read, well, I did an audiobook, of course, is a book called Dream Manager. Incredible book, phenomenal book. And after I read that book, I said, you know what, I'm going to sit with each one of my employees and find out what is something that they're trying to do. And, my employees, I heard things like, I need to buy a car. I had 2 employees that want houses. At me as a company, we're going to help you do this. Whether it's I'm going to pull my resources, because you have resources as a business owner. So I have friends that are realtors. I have friends that are mortgage loan officers that I met through networking. We're going to meet with those employees, and we're going to figure out what it's going to take to get you to that house. If we need to fix your credit, I'll pay half your credit repair. we're going to do that. So I just took that onus because without them, my employees are essential to my business. I cannot do my business if my people don't come to work. And so our starting pay is $12. And I tell everybody, I'm not big enough to be at 15 today, but I will tomorrow. But at least we're at 12 to start. So those are the kinds of things that I'm doing. Now, I'm very involved with my people I know about grandkids and children. And for my folks that have kids, we always pack up like extra goodies and toys. If I have leftover goodie bags, I'm like, make sure Zoe gets her goodie bag. She's like, Hope, don't send this home with, yes, take it home with you, that type of thing. So
I also want to share a book. When I was doing my master's, they had us read Sinji, The Fifth Element, and he speaks about developing a shared vision. And I've heard employers talk about a shared vision, and it's not really a shared vision. So they have to do what you did. You have to know your employees, and where you're going and where they're going, it has to be similar, and you have to share in that. And when you have a small business, it's just like Hope said, it's so important because one, it's hard to find employees, and two, you want to keep them because the cost of replacing an employee can be extremely high. So you've made that investment. Now you want to make sure it's a good investment. And so you want to create that shared vision with your employee of knowing what is it that's important to them. Why have a recognition program that no one's interested in but you? It may not be money. Maybe they don't want more money. Maybe they want more time with their family. Maybe they want flex hours. Maybe they want to be able to work from home because it's a long commute. So you really need to get to know your employees and find out what they want. I know a lot of business owners are probably saying, well, I don't have any money to hire an employee. Well, maybe there's something else that employee wants from you. Maybe there's something else you can offer them. Think outside the box. And don't take no for an answer. Keep asking yourself, how can I do what I want to do? It's someone else share about how you engage your employees and make sure that they have work-life balance.
Sure. I have a small office, but my current employee, we know each other well, and I've actually gotten to know her over the years, and that finding out her vision, how it worked with mine, and I said, I think we should work together. So she has two children that she adopted and that are deaf, and they are my patients. And she wanted the flexibility to be there for them, do what they need to do, but also have extra income. And she liked the thought of meeting other people with hearing loss, different ages, different professions, and how it looks for her future for her children. And that was really powerful for her. And so I hear from her at least once a week. I just love this. She's like, I just got a call from a counselor, and we use TTY, and they signed to me. She's at her job signing through technology to get something done for one of her clients. And so she's like, I feel like my children can do anything. And so having that was her passion and, wanting to build the best life for her children. So I'm flexible. She doesn't have to come to the office. The phones can be answered anywhere. It's a thing called the internet. Go ahead, you can schedule appointments while you're on the go, picking up the kids. If y'all have a doctor's appointment, that's fine. Just make sure that, my phone is answered, and that's a priority. But, if you can't answer the phone for a second, they'll live. They can leave a voice message. We'll call them right back. It's not the end of the world. And so giving her that flexibility, I think, has definitely gained her loyalty. She is willing to do and, will go above and beyond because I have given her that flexibility and freedom because I've been an employee as well. And so I understand where she's coming from. She needs to earn a living, but at the same time have self-respect. And so I want to provide that for her.
I think a really important point Dr. Butler made is that your employees need to feel just as important as your clients.
Yeah, that's right.
And so oftentimes you'll find employers that'll put the clients before the employee. Well, the employee is your face. And if they're not happy, I can guarantee you your clients are not going to be as happy as they could be. Sharon, you want to tell us a little bit how you work with your employees?
Yes, well, I hire homeless veterans and ex-offenders, and I work with the employment specialists at the shelters. But once they transition out of the shelter, we pick them up from home as well. And what I've learned over the years is some of the women that were living in shelters had lost their children. So once they get their children back, we make sure we do family days. when we're celebrating Housekeeping Week, everybody is involved. And one thing that I will start doing here is cooking lessons for the family, teaching them how to use a slow cooker and how to cook their meals while they're asleep, because of the food deserts in the city. So because there's no grocery stores in walking distance or just maybe one bus ride away, I will actually be transporting those families to the grocery store and make sure they can buy fresh produce and things like that. But I am involved with my employees because of where they start, and making sure they transition out, and seeing women get their children back is amazing too, because you become homeless, because I've been homeless. I heard the hardest thing is getting up, because while you're down there, you can predict every day, but the hardest thing is getting back up and facing the unknown. So making sure I stay in touch with them, even the ones that graduate from my academy, will be in touch with them for 120 days after they're employed.
And Chrissy, I know that you have partners, but how do you work with your partners to make sure that both of you guys are having some balance and you're not, putting more on each other?
Well, it goes back to I like setting expectations. It works really well. I do employ my children when I do need that, and I think part of the reason of being a good employer is to not micromanage people, is giving them the opportunity to do what they need to do without you having to breathe down their backs. And with my children, when I do employ them, they have bonuses. And so we write them down on the whiteboard so that there's no, you said this, no, I didn't type of thing. And so I write them down on the whiteboard, and if they hit those targets, they get a bonus of an agreed amount of money. With my business affiliates, I think the first thing I always ask is, by what date do you need this? Because then I know that I'm going to be done with that project 3 days before they want it, And then when I ask them to do something for me, I give them a set deadline. I need this by this date, which is usually 3 days before I need it, just in case, if something goes wrong or we need to fix something, I'm not freaking out or, sweating it. So usually I give an earlier date than what I need it. And for my direct employees, which are my kids, is I give them bonuses to motivate them to do better, and just not micromanaging. I don't want people breathing down my neck, so I don't want to breathe anybody's neck either.
That's awesome. So we want to take a moment and check our time.
We're doing very well. We have time for some Q&A. If anyone has any questions from the audience.
I think that's awesome. Let's take some questions from the audience here on site or online.
So I have a question for Sharon. I'd like to hear about your greatest challenge being in a male-dominated industry like construction.
Let's see. The way I dress. I made sure when I started in the business, I wore a suit and my jacket covered the back of me. And I make so that when I'm talking to them, they understand the words that are coming out of my mouth instead of looking at me. And then I also made it my business to learn what it was I was doing, and so that I do 100% plus quality work. So my work spoke for me. And then also, one of my I met a construction company the other night at an event called Hard Hats Expo, and Skanska Construction Company used to be Beers Construction. They gave me my first contract in Georgia, and the superintendent gave me a pastel pink hard hat. So that was my signature hard hat. So just being able to sit down and know what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about a job, it's either going to be bid by square feet or it's going to be bid by labor and material. But I need you to understand I'm not doing anything unless the paperwork is signed, and we can't do any changes unless there's paperwork signed, because that's extra money. We just don't, say, okay, you got your broom in your hand, go over here. No, that section's not mine, though. You didn't say do that. So now that you want to add that section, then we need to talk about this. We need to put it on paper, or going behind another subcontractor. They used to look at me. I'm like, well, my work was signed off on, and they had to go back in there. Oh, no, who's getting back charged, you or them? Because if we got to go back in there. So just knowing the industry, making it my business to learn the industry so that when I'm sitting down with them and the things that I say and the questions that I ask, they look at me and they're like, okay, so she knows a little something, so we're not going to be able to just get over on her. So it's been interesting. I now wear it like a second skin because I've been doing it for 20 years.
Do we have other questions from the audience, on site or online? Yes, we have a question over there.
Yes, I'd like to know from the panel, I've heard about the past and the present. I'd like to know what everybody's 1 and 3-year goal is. What's your vision going forward? Where do you want to be?
Okay, who's first?
Well, I'll speak to that. So one of my goals that we're actually hit this year is I really want to go beyond babysitting and change people's perceptions about babysitters. Because all the time, if you even see them in cartoons or you see them in commercials, they always look hapless, they always look lazy, and they always look unconcerned. And I want people to know when you hire black tie babysitting, these are professionals, and that we're going to take the job seriously, and we are the best. And we're the premier company here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And we can take care of this whole idea of childcare, whether it be at a business meeting or at a special occasion event or at a wedding. And part of that creating an experience for the kids was also providing baby gear and equipment rentals. And it was one of my clients had called me one day and was like, hey, my cousin's coming into town. We're going to watch her kid. They want to know if they should ship the bed for the baby or you'll have a bed. And I said, oh, yeah, we have portable cribs and everything. We'll have it. And the thought dawned on me, though, what happens after the wedding? Where does this baby sleep when they leave? And so I was like, I've got 2 storage facilities full of equipment that basically stays unused until the weekend because that's when we usually run. And I said, this is a revenue stream sitting right here in front of me. I'm going to start renting this stuff to traveling parents and things like that. So we were actually able to launch that this year. We launched it in January. And so I'm really excited about that. And that was one of our big goals, but we wanted to have expansion. And then eventually I want to be able to franchise Black Tie. But we're going to first start with just having expansion into some offices. And we're working on some deals for Houston. Well, we've actually already expanded into Houston because my brother lives there and I figured I could sleep on his couch and we could make it. But we're looking at some other cities and just talking with that. So that I want to really do pop-up childcare at co-working spaces like this Genius Den. Because I think that on my journey, even being a business owner, I found a need that I still needed childcare when I would go to networking events, when I'm trying to make it to business meetings. And the thing about childcare is this catalyst because it's social capital. And it's career capital. So anywhere that I can make I can invest that capital for someone, I want Black Tie to be there. So, yeah.
Well, my 1-year goal is to get my first government contract. I've been working hard at that, and it's an immediate vision that I'd love to see come to completion and done this year in 2018. My 3-year goal is to be in hearing aid manufacturing. I feel like this is such a versatile type of business that has this medical device, but it's also a hot commodity. There's so many different industries that are trying to do what I do and help people protect their hearing or have better hearing. And so I'm definitely thinking about stepping outside of the clinic and getting on more of the more manufacturing side of things to put my own product out there. And I hope to do that within the next 5 years.
So the question we're answering right now is, what is the vision for our panelists? And Chrissy, would you like to talk about or speak about your vision?
Sure. My 1-year goal is to grow into the marketing, social media marketing. I've always done it, but it's always been a very small part of what I do. And so growing the social media marketing aspect aspect of my business, and that's my 1-year goal. My 3-year goal would be to move more into running the business, being more of a project manager instead of actually doing a lot of the work myself, building more networks, and then helping other entrepreneur veterans, whether male or female, is to start their own businesses.
That's awesome. And Sharon, would you like to tell us? I know you told us a little bit, but if you could tell us a little bit more about the vision for your business.
In 1 year, I want to see the Academy doing all 3 of the industries that I'll be teaching. I created the environmental service program myself in 2007. I just decided to add construction, highway road construction, and I've created the curriculum for that, and then also warehouse technician. So my 1-year goal is to have the Academy doing all 3 industries at the same time, and then my 3-year goal, the people that I have waiting for me to open my doors here in Texas are millennials and Gen Xers. So I expect them to run the company so that I can exit out, because there's other things God has given me to do that I'm excited about doing, but I can't be in here doing this and trying to go out there and do that too. So I'm excited because as I'm 58 years old today, and it's time to get out you got to get out of the way for the Gen Xers and the millennials, because they know a lot. You can feed into them, and then they'll take what you fed into them, and they'll situate it to where it works for them, but they're still doing what it is you want them to do. So I'm excited about that.
So I have a question for the ladies, because I know them and I know their commitment to the community, and I was hoping you could share a little bit about the work that you do in the community beyond your business. Chrissy, you want to start?
Sure. I am very much involved in the veteran community. Last year I did a lot of volunteer at eQuest, which is an equine therapy for veterans with PTSD and other emotional issues from the war, 20-year war that we've been in. And then I also volunteer and mentor people in our community, especially young people. And I am a veteran speaker for the Leadership Foundation for American Values. And I mentor kids, 5th and 6th grade, out of the Brandenburg Elementary in Irving. And I am happy to say that they're doing very well. And I've been able to impact about 156 kids. Some of those kids were labeled mischievous, or they were taken out of the classroom and kind of sequestered into one classroom where they couldn't go anywhere during the school. They had to eat their lunch in the classroom. They had to do all their work in the classroom. And so I was able to turn their life around in the period of the 1 year that I was going to school and mentoring them. And one little boy, which I'm very proud of, told me that I changed his life. So it's a very rewarding feeling to touch somebody's life and know that you've made a difference. And I want to do more of that.
That's awesome. Hope, are you involved in your community?
Yes, I am. So we do a lot. I'm trying to build in conscious capitalism into my company, which, if you're not familiar with that term, it's where you actually plan gifts and plan giving into the fabric of your company. And so we're starting on the employee side by basically helping my employees get to their dreams and goals. But on the community side, we're trying to build a business where we will start giving away scholarships as far as childcare. So if you have a program and you need childcare for that program, that you can apply for it. So it comes at no cost to you or your organization, and we show up and we take care of the kids so that people can attend your programming or your workshop or your event, even if it's just to, make an event where it's reachable for everyone to go to. I was reading an article this morning that talked about this year has been the year of the women's event, where women have gathered face to face for their voices to be heard and to be advocates for our concern. And I would like to and hope to think that there weren't any women who didn't get to hear their voices heard because they had to stay at home with kids. And we want to be able to help with that. So that's always, I tell people all the time, our business, as much as a business as it is also an advocacy, that type of thing. And then we also are trying to work really hard to build in, because I have special needs kids and I know the challenge, and how, because if you have a child that's on the spectrum, he has autism and he's moderate, and so sometimes because you're worried about how other people will react to your child, you don't go places and you don't do things. And especially in a special occasion event, if you're invited to a wedding, you're like, oh, I'm not going to put my child in childcare because I don't think they know how to deal with this child. So we are trying to build, well, I'm trying to build, I always say we, because my company is we. We are building kind of a training curriculum so that we can train other people who have companies like mine to deal with special needs kids and be able to say, sure, we're certified, we're trained, we can take that kid on, bring them on, we're going to have a great time. So.
That's awesome. Sharon?
Well, I work with the homeless. My biggest thing here lately has been homeless college students. And so I was volunteering at a nonprofit for about a year, and I connected them with El Centro, which is where I was going when I transferred here. And we try to get ready-made foods that she can give out, adult resources can give out to those students while they're in school, as far as things like the little cups of cereal and microwavable meals that they can use and eat right at the school. So that's one of my biggest things. The homeless is my biggest thing. So wherever we can give back, I make sure that we do some kind of event or some kind of activity always. And then with little people in areas of disparity, I like giving libraries. So I did that in Jacksonville, and I just found out Dolly Parton gives away books. So that's one of the things I do too. Set up reading centers where there's no librarian walking distance for kids in areas of disparity.
That's awesome. And Dr. Butler, I know you started a nonprofit, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I am passionate about helping people hear better. And hearing aids are a little niche market where it's a medical device, but it's usually not covered by health insurance. And so families are usually left to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket when it comes to purchasing a hearing aid. And so our nonprofit, we take donations of older hearing aids that maybe someone has some and they got some new ones and they have some old ones sitting around. We'll take their old hearing aids and we will send them off to be refurbished and give them to someone else in need who can't afford them. And so the nonprofit is Sound Blessings. It was formed last year, and it's been a great low-level program so far, but I have so many hopes and dreams to see it grow because this is such a big problem here in the U.S. that it seems like so many other big companies out here spend a lot of time outside of the U.S. helping with hearing, but not here, right here at home. So I want to do as much as I can immediately for Dallas people who have hard of hearing and then expand that. So I'm passionate about helping people hear, but also I'm very passionate about helping veterans start businesses. So most of my volunteer activities are around those type of things. So I do, I've been asked to speak at many events on just telling my story of opening my own business and encouraging other veterans to start their own business and active duty transitioning to being veterans. And so those are my main volunteer times, is either some type of veteran related event around entrepreneurship, or it's about hearing loss awareness or hearing aid use for people who need it.
I've had the opportunity to work with these ladies and to see them in the community. I want to give a shout out to Black Tie Babysitting. They did the child care for our roll call that we had last year. They were fabulous. And because we were able to have child care, we had veteran women who would not have attended that full day event that were able to attend. And I also want to shout out to Chrissy, to her company, because they designed the logo for Women's Veterans Day. Yeah. And for those of you who do not know, and she did a fantastic job, and she's working on the website. She told me, remind me, when my website going to be ready. She's working on the website. So since she's reminding me, let me get a date over here. But anyway, for those of you that don't know, 1948, President Truman signed the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, which allowed women to serve in the military as regular members. And last year, Representative Nieves, along with 9 of her colleagues, led the charge in Austin for us to have a bill to make June 12th Women's Veterans Day. Right. Now, the original bill got pushed back, but they didn't stop there. They were able to get an amendment on the Texas Senate Bill 805, and that was signed by the governor on June 9th. So even though we had a Women's Veterans Day celebration last year, because we were determined to do it, this year is our real official Women's Veterans Day for the state of Texas, and it is the 70th anniversary of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act. So if you're not involved, you need to get involved with Women's Veterans Day. June 12, 2018. Well, I can't thank these ladies enough. I know that you all have gained a wealth of information. And again, as I said, this is live, but it's taped. So if you missed something, go back and listen to it again, because these ladies are extraordinary. And they have had some extraordinary experiences. And they've gave you a wealth of information, how to manage your time, how to balance work and life with your children, your relationships, and your employees, and the importance of putting all those things together so that work doesn't become life, but you've got work-life balance. So I want to thank Dr. Butler. I want to thank Hope King, Sharon Covington, and Quincy Campo for spending this evening with us as we close out International Women's Day. And I want to thank you for joining us. Thank our friends at Lift Fund with the Women's Veteran Entrepreneur Training Program funded by the SBA. If not for them, we wouldn't be here today. Thank you again, and have a great evening.